The world stood still in silence. A voice that had resonated through the ages transformed into an echo, dissolving into boundless eternity. It was a voice that spoke to monarchs and wanderers, to atheists and believers, to those who had everything and those who had nothing. Yesterday, that voice fell silent forever, yet its silence is not an end, but a prelude to something that must be heard until the very last second. The departed left behind no golden treasures, no magnificent castles. He left only one request, his final one, about which almost no one speaks. If this message is not heard now, many will continue to live in the illusion of wakefulness, unaware that they are actually asleep. What did he see in this world that others chose to ignore? Why did he warn in simple and clear words that humanity's greatest danger lies not in wars, not in money, not in political intrigues, but in the neglect of love? This is the story of a man who sought to be a servant, not a king. He did not crave adoration. He merely wished to be heard. Now, his final spiritual testament sounds like a quiet whisper, penetrating the very heart of the earth. In the coming moments, you will hear not just words, but true warnings, revelations capable of changing the life of everyone who listens to the end. For sometimes, what appears to be a farewell is in fact a divine call addressed personally to each individual. He did not follow conventional rules, did not meet others' expectations, and did not ask permission to be himself. He was called a rebel, but behind that moniker lay something far greater. He broke established norms not out of vanity, but because he saw what few dared to look at. He understood that true faith is not found in adhering to protocols, but is born where love is most needed. When he renounced luxury and chose a modest life in a small room, the world was astonished, but he silently taught that greatness lies not in palaces, but in a heart that serves others. When he washed the feet of prisoners, Muslims, and women, he sought no glory. He simply wanted to remind us that Christ did the same, and that no person, not even the Pope, can be above others. When he spoke out against the church system itself, criticizing power, corruption, and hypocrisy, he knew he might face attacks, but he did not back down, because truth, when lived with courage, can break down any barrier. And perhaps that is why his last request sounds so unexpected, so true, and so shocking. The rule-breaking Pope is no longer with us, but the question he left behind echoes. Will you continue to live by the rules imposed by this world? Or will you finally listen to your conscience and follow the truth that grants freedom? He came not to gain popularity, but to be authentic. Now that his voice is silent, the rules he challenged still remain. But he who has ears, let him hear the message. There is no need to wait for another life, another chance, another sign. For the man who broke the rules did so to teach us to break our own walls. And perhaps the real miracle lies in breaking the chains that bind us and restoring what saves us. He walked among crowds, but looked into eyes as if each person was the only one existing at that moment. For him, position, fame, or wealth held no significance. He saw the very essence. While the world is obsessed with possessing, he tirelessly reminded us of the value of human being. How often do we ask ourselves what truly matters? What will remain on the day when all we possess loses all meaning? The departed knew this and lived as if every action was a silent answer to that question. He shook the hands of the unseen, paused to listen to those no one heard, wept with those who suffered, and offered a smile to those who needed only a glance. Because in the end, what remains are not titles, but touches, not possessions, but attachments. He taught without words, showing that love is the only wealth one can take into eternity, that helping one's neighbor, forgiveness, acceptance, and an outstretched hand of support are worth more than 1,000 empty prayers. In a world obsessed with external beauty, he preached the beauty of simplicity. In times marked by haste, he lived the depth of the present moment. He did not seek to impress, but to transform. And perhaps that is why his last messages sound so insistent, as if he knew we were losing what was most important, as if he was trying to awaken us. Before it is too late, it is worth pausing to consider what will matter on the last day of life. Who will be by your side? What will you want to say, do, love? He lived as if he already knew the answers to these questions, and now calls on everyone to find their own, before time runs out, before life turns into routine, before the heart hardens. For in the end, only what is done with the love we received and the love we chose to give, even when no one else believes, truly matters. He understood that his words were addressed not only to the earthly world. Each time he knelt, his gaze was not cast down, but upward, as if in silent supplication, he appealed to the heavens for each of us. And it was in this sacred silence that he made his most heartfelt plea. This did not happen under the glare of television cameras or at lavish ceremonies, but in intimate moments when the voice of the heart spoke louder than any doctrine. His plea contained no request for riches, fame, or recognition. He asked for only one thing, that humanity not allow its hearts to harden. It was a cry, a silent scream, the most sincere prayer. He watched with pain as indifference spread like a disease, as selfishness grew, as faith turned into a spectacle, and love was forgotten. In this final act of spiritual self-giving, he prayed not for himself, but for all of us, for every weary soul, for every young person who had lost hope, for every child deprived of love, for every forgotten elderly person. He lifted the burden of human suffering to heaven and transformed it into a fervent plea. But now that he is gone, heaven awaits an answer. The call has been sounded, and whoever hears it understands that they can no longer remain indifferent. The time for distractions and doubts has passed. It is time for decisions. Either we choose to harden, or we awaken to the light. His entire life was a reminder that true strength lies in the ability to love when no one else loves, to believe when no one believes, and to pray even when it seems the whole world has forgotten how. His call reached the heavens, but now it must touch our hearts, for perhaps it is our response that heaven awaits. He saw it before others. While many remained silent, his eyes were already screaming about the impending danger. This was not a war with tanks and bombs, but something deeper, quieter, and far more dangerous. A spiritual war, a war that begins within each person and then explodes into the external world. Pope Francis tried to warn against this. When he spoke of peace, he meant not only peace between nations, but also peace within families, in broken marriages, between brothers who had become enemies, between people who forgot how to love and began to compete. He saw how hatred sprouted in words, violence hid in gestures, intolerance filled homes, and faith was used as a weapon rather than a bridge. This was the war he tried to prevent, an invisible war, destroying from within before blood was shed outside. He understood that it was not about politics or religions, but about consciousness. That is why he asked, "Pray for peace." But few realized what he truly meant. For one must pray not only with lips, but with actions, choices, and how we treat each other every day. He reached out to leaders, to nations gripped by conflict, but also to ordinary people fighting their personal wars in silence, battling despair, loneliness, and a loss of meaning in life. In every gesture, a message was hidden. Peace does not begin in the world, it begins within you. Now he can no longer speak, but the question that echoes in our hearts is this: the war he tried to prevent, are you fueling it or extinguishing it within yourself? For the true battle is not between nations, but between love and fear, between a soul that opens itself to the world and an ego that closes itself off. Pope Francis saw this war before others and did everything he could to prevent it. But now it is up to us. Either we become instruments of peace or a part of the darkness that continues to spread. And this choice has never been more relevant. He never wrote in large letters, never ascended an altar to proclaim revelations. And perhaps that is why the most important secret Pope Francis shared went unnoticed by many. But it was there, in every gesture, in every refusal, in every silence that spoke more than 1,000 words. It seemed he knew that certain truths did not need to be proclaimed, they needed to be lived, and he lived them. He refused crowns, but wore the mantle of humility. He rejected golden thrones, but carried the burden of those no one noticed. While the world admired the external, he emptied himself of ego. While others sought power and influence, he sought essence. And amidst all this, he left a secret, hidden not in books, but in his example. A secret that true spiritual power is not in control, but in self-giving. That a person's mission is not to convince the world, but to transform their own heart. He never said it aloud, but when he washed the feet of those considered unclean, when he embraced the rejected, when he asked for forgiveness on behalf of the entire church, he whispered, "He who truly loves needs to prove nothing." This was the secret, a secret that eludes the proud but transforms the attentive. Now that he is gone, the words have vanished, but the silence he left speaks loudly. Can we hear it? For whoever understands this secret needs no explanation. They need courage. The courage to forgive, to yield, to return, to love without expecting anything in return. Pope Francis came not to change the rules, but to remind us that the only true revolution is the one that begins in the invisible world, and that the secret of faith is for it to cease being a theory and become flesh, action, life. Perhaps that is why he never needed to say everything. He simply lived in such a way that his life now cries out within us. The Pontiff did not seek to impose his faith, did not set strict boundaries, and did not preach a dogmatic faith that could repel rather than unite people. Pope Francis taught that true faith is not about forcing others to follow one path, but about accompanying them, respecting each individual's uniqueness. In an era when the world is prone to divisions, he consistently demonstrated that faith should not be a burden. It should be lived through the lens of compassion, respect, and acceptance. Perhaps this is what led to misunderstandings of his figure, for he spoke not of a demanding faith, but of a faith that grants freedom, a faith that does not close doors but throws them open, that does not exclude but unites, that does not condemn but heals. Pope Francis saw the Church not as a wall erected between people and God, but as a bridge, connecting and accepting everyone. He preached not a faith of condemnation, but a faith of mercy, forgiveness, and unity. He understood that fanaticism destroys the essence of faith, and the desire for power and self-righteousness distances one from unconditional love. That is why he warned us, saying that it is not fanaticism that brings one closer to God, but love extended to one's neighbor, regardless of their flaws. True faith does not display aggression, cruelty, or obtrusiveness. It is a faith filled with respect, asking questions with humility, serving without expectation of reward, and loving unconditionally. Now he is no longer with us, but the message he left will not disappear. And the question before us is our faith a bridge or a wall? True faith does not divide, it unites us, and above all teaches that in the end, we are all brothers. He understood that words sometimes lose their meaning, and that the silence between two glances can contain all the wisdom of the world. His last smile was not merely an expression of emotion. It was the smile of a man who understood the true value of life, a man who had nothing left to prove. This smile seemed to say, "I have fulfilled my mission. Now it is your turn." He smiled not to be noticed, but because he genuinely believed that love cannot be contained, it must be shared. He did not need applause or approval. He only wanted to see a world approaching his ideal, where kindness is the rule, not the exception. When he smiled for the last time, he was not bidding farewell to God, but calling us to follow his example, to live with compassion, courage, and simplicity. Those who were with him in the last moments of his life know that he was not concerned with the end. He was concerned with the beginning of every life he touched, the beginning of healing every heart he helped. His smile reflected his faith in God and in the power of the human heart, which, despite its fragility, understands that love is the only force capable of moving the world forward. Thus, he left us not great words, but a smile that says everything. Never stop loving. Now his smile lives within each of us, in every act of kindness, in every act of forgiveness, in every gentle gaze, in every silence that brings peace. Because Pope Francis's last smile was not just a farewell, but an invitation, a reminder that when love spreads, there is no end, only a new beginning. He departed, but he left something that cannot be measured by riches or honors, a legacy not mentioned in wills, but living in souls. Pope Francis left no lands or material possessions, but he passed on something far more valuable, an invisible legacy. This legacy is not stored in palaces. It cannot be bought or sold. It lies in how he touched the world, how he used the power of example, not authority. His legacy is not in grand speeches, but in small gestures echoing into eternity, in how he looked at others without judgment, how he offered a hug as if it were the last of his life, how he gave attention as if it were the most precious treasure on earth. This invisible legacy consists of moments, glances that say what words cannot express, of gentle touches to the hands of those most in need, of forgiveness granted without explanation. He needed nothing visible to leave a mark unseen but felt. This is the gift he passed on to the world, and although he's no longer physically with us, the invisible legacy he left manifests in every good deed, in every act of generosity, in every moment when we choose love over indifference. You will not find it in a will, but it is present in how you live, in every decision you make, in every word of forgiveness, in every glance of compassion. For his legacy is not gold or silver, it is heart, light, and transformation. Pope Francis showed us that true value lies not in material things, but in what can be felt. And now this invisible legacy is your responsibility. This legacy is not buried in the annals of the past. It pulsates in the present, resonates within each of us, manifests in every decision aimed at improvement, at showing greater love and humanity. Pope Francis's invisible spiritual testament will not fade into oblivion. It will be passed like a torch from generation to generation, resonating in people's hearts. And perhaps this is the priceless gift he left the world. His earthly journey is complete, but the mission lives on. He left behind an invisible, silent, yet vibrant legacy, and now its fate depends on each of us. Pope Francis, through his humility and wisdom, transformed his life into a model to emulate. It was not his high position in the church hierarchy that changed the world, but his unique ability to transform human hearts. He taught us that, despite the rapid changes in the world, the determining factor is our choice, how we live in this world. And now, a crucial question stands before us. What will we do with this legacy? He spoke of faith free from fanaticism, of true peace born within us, of love capable of healing the world, and of the courage to transform one's life through humility. He revealed to us the secret of true spiritual power, which lies not in imposition, but in self-giving, and left us, in his last smile, a call to become better, to never stop loving and forgiving. Now it is up to each of us. That smile, given by him at the end of his journey, was, in essence, an invitation to all humanity to continue his mission. He did not need words to ask us to do this. He expressed it through his gaze, his gestures, the example of his life. And what will you do with it? Do you look with love at another person, at a brother, a sister, or simply at those who are different from you? Do you build bridges or erect walls on your life's path? Is your faith merely a personal conviction, or does it manifest in every gesture of love and compassion? Pope Francis left us not only words but a call to action. He understood that true transformation does not come from grand speeches or external changes, but begins with simple acts, a smile, an outstretched hand, forgiveness, a kind glance. This is how he entered history. And now it is your turn. It is your turn to become a reflection of the message of love he spread throughout the world. It is your turn to carry this legacy forward, to be a mirror of compassion, to do good without expecting recognition, to transform the world around you with small gestures of great love. The Pope has physically left us, but his mission continues to live within us. Every time we look into another person's eyes and choose to love, he is present with us. Every time we choose to act kindly, he lives within us. Every time we forgive, he is there. Because what he left us was far more than just words. It is an eternal flame that can only be extinguished if we ourselves refuse to carry it. Now the mission is in our hands, and the choice is ours. His mission is also our mission. And the greatest tribute we can pay him is to live with an open heart, with compassion, with forgiveness, and above all, with love.